Hey guys, my name is Lilly and today I'm here in the wilderness with my bow. And recently I've gotten some new arrows, these ones here, because I found that my old arrows are actually a little bit too stiff and too heavy. And right now I'm only shooting with about 35 pounds and the old arrows don't really fit my bow anymore because first of all they are too stiff and second of all they are too heavy. So now I have gotten some new arrows which I have shortened. Every centimeter that you cut off will make the arrow lighter. And the next thing that I did was I was shortening my feathers. So here you can see this is a 4-inch feather and I've shortened my feathers to 3 inches because the feathers were taking out a lot of speed, and with shorter feathers you will have a faster arrow. I'm shooting my bow with a compound bow sight with a peep that is connected to the frame of the bow and with the D-loop that I want to set today. I can always switch back to normal bow and arrow shooting, which is without any sights. First I'm going to try to set a D-loop like this. I do not want to remove the knocking point or anything because then I can always switch to normal shooting. So I want to set the D-loop above the knocking point and underneath, and the arrow knock goes right into here, like this. Okay, my target is over there. It's exactly 10 meters from here. Okay, this is my first grouping. I think it's pretty good. I think the knocking point is okay. Let's try it again. Okay, that's the second grouping, looking pretty good. So now I have to adjust my sight here because before I used these limbs I had 5 pound stronger limbs on, and now this sight is not adjusted. So now I want to move it. Let's see if this is enough. So now I'm taking the second pin. Let's see if it's the right one. Yes, that's it. Okay, that's pretty good now. I'm going to leave it as it is. Okay, before I do anything else, I first want to make the D-loop permanent because I think that the knocking point is perfect now. For this, I just need a scissor and a lighter. Okay, this should be fine now. Okay folks, so now I'm back in my basement and right now I'm building a frame or 2 frames, and this is for my paper test. So I need some kind of frame so that I can put a piece of paper into it and so that the paper does not bend. And this is important to see how your arrows fly. Okay, finally I'm ready with my frame. So now I can put in a piece of paper into the frame, close it, and then I take this clamp and put pressure on the frame, and then I can shoot through this paper and see how good my arrows are performing. Okay, now I'm in Wöllersdorf. It's my favorite archery range. Look at this really nice range here with a lot of different targets, and now I want to see if my bow still shoots straight. Okay, I think the sight is fine. I don't want to change it anymore. And now let's do the paper test. Okay, actually this is not what I wanted to see. If you take a look in detail. So here you can see that the tip hit here and the feathers hit here, the same here and here. That's not good. So the arrow is not flying straight but in an angle like this. So now I want to try and change out the weights and see if this will make the arrows fly better. So right now I'm shooting with 85 grains. Now I want to switch out one tip for a lighter tip. This is 70 grains. And also I want to take a heavier tip, which is 100 grains. Alright, so first I want to try the 100 grain tip. Next is the 85 again. Okay, this was 100 grain, 85, 70. So maybe I will try to set a different knock because the bottom is down, which means that I maybe have to knock even further down. And here it's to the right, here it's also to the right, but here it's only down anymore. So maybe 70 grain is really the best for my arrows. Okay, so I have set the knocking point 5 millimeters deeper now. Let's see if this works. This is the 70 grain tip. $85. Hey, Amy! Okay, let's see. Okay, this was the first one, right? So it's getting worse actually. See? So here you can see that it's actually getting worse, way worse than before. So I think I have to go up with my knocking point instead of down. Okay, so now I've moved the D-loop a little bit above the knocking point. Okay, this was 85, 70, 100. So now it's getting better. Okay, now I want to try my old arrow. It's the same picture with my old arrow. It's a little bit deep and a little bit to the right. And you can actually see it when you look at the arrow that the knock is a little bit to the right. Okay, now I want to try the arrows of my spouse. Let's see if this makes a difference. Okay, so they also rip out a little bit to the right and down. And this one was a little bit better. Okay, so I think the best that I can do today is to leave my setup at the original setting, which is knocking under the knocking point. And maybe I have to get a different spine for my arrows and then they will fly better. It's not the worst flight that I've ever seen, but it's not perfect, of course. And my new arrows, they are a little bit lighter. They only have 18 grams. So now I just want to do normal shooting and see how accurate they are in general. That's fine for 10 meters, but now let's move on to 15. Okay, this is the grouping at 15 meters. So I think the second pin is at the right position. Okay, now I want to try 20 meters. Okay, that's my grouping at 20 meters, really good. I'm happy with it. That's much better than I would do without the aim, without the sights. So I'm really happy. Now let's try 25 meters. 25 meters, that's quite a long distance. Okay, here the grouping is a little bit bigger, but also I'm getting a little bit more weak in the shoulder. I already can feel it. So let's try again. Maybe I can hit the target a little bit better. Okay, this grouping was not much better. I only hit the red, so I think I'm going to stay at this distance and practice more. Okay, now the grouping is much better. I'm really happy with it. However, it was a little bit to the left, so sometimes when I'm releasing, I do this a little bit to the left, a movement to the left, and that's because when I'm trigger releasing, it's like a side pressure. So I really have to practice a lot to get rid of this habit, but yeah, this grouping is still very good for 25. So I'm happy with the grouping, and the pin is also set correctly. Okay, now I just want to do a fun round. 3 different arrows at 3 different targets. Okay, it's really important that you have set the knocking point at the right position. If you do not have it at the right position, this is 5 millimeters below the perfect knocking point position, then your arrows will fly completely differently. So this was the worst picture of all. And then this was my old arrow. It was also going to the right and down. Yeah, I believe that was my last picture, maybe. So it's not perfect, I gotta say. And I gotta find out now what the reason is for this behavior of my arrows. I think maybe that the spine is too hard. So maybe I try to get some arrows which are more flexible. And yeah. Also, when I changed out the tip, the result was a little bit different, but it didn't make a huge difference. So yeah, you can play around with the arrow tips for sure. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you can figure out with using the paper test, and the paper test really reveals how your arrows are really flying. Pretty interesting. So I want to thank you for watching, and stay tuned till next time.